Good evening, everyone. Calling the September 23rd, 2024 Parks and Recreation Commission meeting to order at 5:32. Welcome.
May we have a roll call, please?
Commissioners, when I call your name, please indicate that you are present. Commissioner Admire,
Present.
Commissioner Ballister,
Present.
Commissioner Vice Chair Coladonato,
Present.
Commissioner Davis,
Present.
Commissioner Ferguson,
Present.
Commissioner Fine is absent, Commissioner Finland,
Present.
Chair Moralia,
Present.
Commissioner Nagaya is absent, Commissioner Roddy is absent. All members present with the exception of Commissioner Nagaya, Roddy, and Fine.
You left out Commissioner Diaz.
Commissioner Diaz. Present. Present, thank you.
Thank you. May we have a report on the posting of the agenda?
The agenda was posted last Wednesday, is that right? Thank you. Has everybody had a chance to look at the minutes from July? Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved. Second.
Okay,
We'll vote on the approval.
we'll just do a roll call approval. Commissioner Admire,
Approved.
Commissioner Ballister,
Approved.
Vice Chair Coladonato,
Approved.
Commissioner Davis,
Approved.
Commissioner Diaz,
Approved.
Commissioner Ferguson,
Approved.
Commissioner Fine is absent, Commissioner Finland,
Approved.
Chair Moralia,
Approved.
Commissioner Nagaya is absent, and Commissioner Roddy. Thank you very much.
And the record should reflect that Commissioner Roddy has joined us.
Okay. Everybody's favorite part of the meeting, public comment. This time has been set aside for members of the public to address the Parks and Recreation Commission on agenda items and items of general interest within the subject matter jurisdiction of the commission. Although the commission values your comments, pursuant to the Brown Act, it generally cannot take any action on items not listed on the posted agenda. 3 minutes are assigned for each speaker. Do we have anyone who wants to speak? Somebody all the way in the back, I see your hand. Yep.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, and the wonderful Parks and Rec Commission. I'm so happy and proud to be here. My name is Edwin Momoran, and I've actually served on the public, the Human Rights Commission, but I've also helped with districting and worked on getting the census out to our community. I was born and raised here in Palm Springs and a proud resident of Veterans Tract, which is also called Duth Park, a half block away from Sierra Vista. And Duth Park has been our park for a long time. I call it the Duth Community Center, the youth center, because that's what we were raised calling it. And I'm so proud and I'm happy to be here because one, our community there, the Filipino community that's been in the neighborhood and in Palm Springs for quite a long time. My grandfather was here after World War II, after serving through Kern County and then settling with his family here in Palm Springs. I'm so happy that we're going to be working on a mural project. You'll be getting some information from our dear colleagues with Binding Ham Desert, Christine Soto. And I'm in love with this project because one, I love my family and I've been so happy to be able to tell the story of the Filipinos in the neighborhood and in our city. And a mural always provides a wonderful way to build that story and to tell the story when you've been overlooked for such a long time. So I'm here to support agenda item 7, letter number A, but I'm also here to really support number B too. So I'm really happy that I've been part of the master plan. And thank you so much for putting that real effort into the master plan for the parks. It means so much. And we hope that you could support our vision for bringing together the community, not just the Filipinos in the city, which have been in veterans track for a very, very long time, but also to bridge our communities that have been sort of overlooked on so many levels. That's my story. So, but I invite you to please reach out to us as well. We'll be reaching out to you. But I thank you for making sure that the Parks and Rec are on our mind, because yeah, without the youth center, I don't think a lot of us would be here. And thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anybody on Zoom?
If we have any guests joining us via Zoom, please use the raise hand feature. And we can allow you to speak for public comment.
No.
Nope. Thank you.
Okay, speak now for a roll to peace. Moving on to the director's report.
Thank you, Chair. I have too many things to look at simultaneously, so I may be fumbling a little bit here as we go through it. First off, I'd like to report on the actions that the city council has taken during the hiatus when the commission last met and now. First of all, on Thursday, July 25th, the city council adopted an item that actually came to them from the Public Art Commission, not from the Parks and Recreation Commission. However, it's of interest to us because what they did approve was the pickleball project that has been in the works for some time that you all have been working on. They approved the concept drawings that you had seen, and then they also approved a budget to go with it. They appropriated measure day funds as well as some Quimby Act funds to support the design as it was at the conceptual design stage. Next, at the September 12th meeting, the council approved a very colorful, and I had the two of them reversed. This is actually the one that came to them from the Public Arts Commission, sidewalk that will be just outside the James O. Jesse Center. This is going to be installed sometime in the near but not immediate future, and it will serve a couple of purposes. Most importantly, from a public safety standpoint, what it does is it slows down motorists driving in the area. They see that, they take a second look and slow down. The other thing that it does that I didn't know until I read a study on it is that it improves the behavior of pedestrians. Pedestrians are less likely to enter into a crosswalk against the signal or against the signs or against motorists if they see something like this to catch their attention. So everybody behaves better, and we hope that it makes a safer journey for, especially for the school children who use this crosswalk to get to the James O. Jesse Desert Highlands Unity Center. I can remember the letters easier, the acronym easier than the full name. And at the next meeting of the city council on the 26th, the council will consider an item to adopt and approve as final the shade structure and the park, the playground equipment that was installed at the Victoria Park. This is a routine matter. It's on the consent agenda, and I don't expect any discussion involving it. Some of the things that we've done during the last, I guess it would be 2 months since we met.
Can I interrupt you just for 1 second, just
You
so the
bet.
commission
Yes,
knows
sir.
something? That asphalt art, by the way, that neighborhood was shown 4 different designs, and the neighborhood was involved in picking what you're seeing. So just so everybody knows, we've actually gotten the arts department to go out and say, what do you guys like?
Am I allowed to ask a question about the first thing that you started on the pickleball thing
Pickleball
that,
thing.
and then you said it was the art thing, but so what was the pickleball thing?
The pickleball thing is the city council approved approximately $6 million and for the project, and they approved the conceptual design that was presented to them.
Cause it didn't all go together. Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay, routine maintenance, there's one of these items that's gonna come back to you, I'll hit on it a couple of times. Because it is different this year, it's on the tree trimming and the cleanup of the trees. But generally, we've done a routine monthly or weekly, in some cases daily, power washing of equipment. And picnic areas in our parks. We also had some new support columns installed at the restrooms at Duth Park, so they will not collapse when next you visit them. We installed new pickleball posts, as you see on the far left, at the Duth Park, and also there was decomposed granite, DG, that was installed around the playground. A new practice wall was added for tennis players at the Roof Party Park. And the photo on the right is actually the finished product, the one on the left is not. New lights, replacement lights were installed in the locker rooms at the pool facility. And this one, you'll actually see this issue come back later. This is one of the dugouts at our stadium. That being a dugout is lower than its surrounding area and it gets floods. In this case, there was a break of a water line. And it had to be cleaned out, pumped out in order to evacuate the dugout itself. There was also a stage setup that was done on, this is Murray Canyon Golf Course, I believe it's actually called the Indian Canyon Golf Course. Okay, and that was to accommodate a Chamber of Commerce event. This one, for those of you who are cyclists, you will really appreciate, and this is a bike path that goes along. I guess I would say that it goes parallel to Golf Course Drive. It is behind the mobile home park there, and this is the before. Here is the after. You can actually find the path itself.
It's always been a problem.
It is. Here's what I was gonna talk about a little bit more, dead tree removals throughout the city. For those of you who had places to escape to this summer and didn't follow the news, it was really hot. We hit an all-time high and it's been very hard on our trees. It's taken its toll. If you look at the parking lots and a number of our facilities and a number of our parks as well, you'll see dead limbs and completely dead trees. You're going to see the dead limbs that are in there for a little while. We do have arborists who will be assessing the trees and removing the limbs from the ones that will live without them. And removing the trees altogether from others, but they're gonna wait a little bit before starting wholesale and going through because the temperatures are still a little bit too high and unpredictable. And if a tree is stressed, you don't wanna go in and cut off parts of it. Because then you might, that might be the death knell for it, so we wanna save as many as we can. But you will start to see things looking better, probably in the next 2 months. What's been happening? What's going on with our operations? Let's see, first of all, recruitment. I'm being reported, we are going like a bat out of Hades. On our recruitment, we have recently hired a project manager and a program coordinator. You will hear a little bit more about the one who is with us in the future. We are underway with the hiring of the director. There were, I believe, 76 applications that came to us from all across the country. Some extremely well qualified people. Interviews will be coming up next month. And our first round of interviews will be coming up next month, and we still seem to be on track for having somebody here early December. Thanksgiving, somewhere around in that range. Park rangers, we have 4 park ranger positions, they're all 3/4 time. And right now we have a single person who is in one of the positions on an interim basis. It's a very difficult position to fill and keep filled. But we had a whole host of people apply for it. We're interviewing and we hope to have people on board probably in a couple of weeks from now for those positions, which are great because these are people who are out keeping an eye on what's going on in the parks and making sure that they're clean and safe for kids to play in. We also have a Parks and Recreation manager. This person will be the manager of the Duth Community Center. We have done a recruitment. We have a number of applications. We will be interviewing in the near future, and we hope to have that position filled again in a few weeks. And finally, recreation program assistant, we had not 1, 2, 3, or 4, but 5 openings for program, or for program assistants. Part of that is that we use a lot of students who go back to school or back to university in late summer, early fall. That opens some of the positions. We have recruited for those, we have interviewed, and we have identified our top candidates, so we hope to be filling those by the middle of next month. Or actually have people on board by the middle of next month. We have an administrative assistant and assistant director, both of which probably will wait until the new director is here before we start looking for people to fill those. And as I mentioned, we have a new project manager, John.
Right behind you.
Yeah, somewhere back there, somebody in a suit, that must be John. John is our new project manager. He is working kind of in coordination with the project managers we have in other departments throughout the city to oversee the scoping of projects, conceptual design and construction. And these will be specifically projects that are for the parks and parks facilities. John has, and I had good notes here in this. John has left in and started working on a couple things, beginning with the James O. Jesse Desert Highlands Unity Center. To work on their fitness equipment. The equipment is now on order, you'll hear more about that later. But he worked with the community members on the exact location where it will go. He will be the person working on a proposed project, which is a big one, for the Sunrise Park, switching it from its current drinking water supply to be a recycled, reclaimed water. It is a huge park as far as amount of turf and water usage, and we've all been we've always used domestic water to water. This is a project that will be partially funded by the Desert Water Agency. And the rest of it would be coming from the city's funds. Also, we need pretty badly to redo the tennis courts at Burto Park, turf conversion projects, and John will be working on those. Okay, other things that have been going on, we gave away a lot of backpacks and stuff with school supplies, in particular at the James O. Jesse Center. And then we had a recognition lunch for city employees who had met milestones. And you will see our very own Rosa Roma and Janice Lopez, who both received awards for 20 years. They both serve as really good historical resources for anything going on in Parks and Rec. Events around the community centers at James O. Jesse, again, they have a First Friday program that's going on that has had each First Friday is different. This one involved the firemen and kickball game. Janice Lopez, the same one who just received a 20-year award, was featured in an article in the California Park and Recreation Society magazine, which is quite an honor. And this one dealt with Janice's oversight and management of a program to attract movie theaters and, attract movie makers, and get them through our permitting process, find them appropriate locations, and spotlight Palm Springs in the movie industry. Okay, things coming up. Schools in session, so our youth programs these are not in the future, these are already going on. Our after school programs are in full swing. We've started a 50 and better program for, at the Duth Center for those who want to play pickup, basketball games. And also a mature adult, I love the terminology for all these, but mature adult program. Which will be at the James Jesse Center, and they do some cool things, they'll go on great field trips. Even to 849, and there's just no telling where you can go on a field trip. Friday, and I participated in this last week, you go up and get to roller skate with people who are way younger and way shorter and way quicker than you are. At the James Jesse Center, and that's done once a month. We also have Workout Wednesdays, which is being offered. And I'll get through some of these community market, which goes on at the Duth Center. Mentorships and apprenticeships, again, at the James Jesse Center. Anybody looking for a job, anybody in our viewing audience who would like help with employment, if you're 15 years or older, all the way on up to 70 or 80 or however old you might be, if you're looking for a job, this is a good way to get help putting together your resume and job training and get prepared for it. And more swim time. We are trying to work wherever we can to pick up additional time for lap swimming. There's a big demand for it in the public. We have started new Sunday hours. We're now starting an hour earlier, 7 a.m. on Sundays, which is sure to turn out people because lap swimmers want to be there every day. And we'll be working on opportunities for opening up more times in the future. I should go back and say, one other thing I don't think we picked up in here is we're starting water polo. There have been interested parties loitering about the pool and with sad eyes for some time looking for an opportunity to play water polo. We are now getting the program actually started as an official program. It'll be probably a month or 6 weeks before we start really publicizing it. Right now it's people who are coming on Saturday afternoons, we set up the nets, we've got special lifeguard training to oversee water polo and to coach water polo, and we expect to have a good interest in that. People have been talking about longing in the community. All right, with Measure Day projects, I want to invite. Well, I will let the appropriate project managers come forward and address the different projects that we have going on, starting with the Duth Park projects, and I believe that's going to be Alberto. Was that you? Not here. That would be Joel. We welcome him, the city engineer Joel Monfalvo.
Good evening, commissioners, and yeah, sorry Alberto couldn't be here. He's been really involved in anything to do with Duth Park, pickleball, all the upgrades, the lighting. So I'll try to do my best to give you some updates. I don't know the order of the slides, but I think we're gonna have to tag team because the next slide would probably be some maybe the other project manager. So we're working on well, you'll see Duth Park pickleball course, dog park expansion. The outdoor exercise equipment is going to be somebody else. The swim center. So I think the following slides each one of us will tag team and give you an update as we can. So the first one is the digital Highlands park. So,
That's a question.
sure.
Are these items that we're discussing, are these in the packet? Is that what's in the packet in front of us?
These are not action items, they are not in this.
Okay,
The proposed Measure J projects will come later.
thanks. Currently, we're working with City Hall, Tabby, pardon me, to get some quotes on this equipment. We did receive one that came back a bit out of range of what we were expecting and some different equipment. So we are coordinating with other vendors to procure that equipment for Desert Highlands and then looking at getting that installed sooner than better.
Yeah. So the swim center, we are working on the swim center, my team, which is my project manager, which is not about, his name is Alan. He's been working with interactive design to do the design of this project, right? So I do have a little bit of an update. IBC is actually working on the exterior elevations right now. They're working on the utility locations of the pool. I'm sorry, the structure. They're also looking at the structural components. They're getting ready, or they're working on the schematic design. So they're trying to get the schematic design and the exterior elevations kind of laid out. They've been through multiple community meetings, gotten input, and they're incorporating pretty much a lot of input from the community. What you're seeing up here is sort of the layout, how we're going to improve access and emergency access. One of the things that the fire department wants is a third exit from the pool area, the full deck area. So we're looking to see if we can put an emergency. Yeah, emergency exit closer to the pavilion. And we're expanding the ramp. We're actually going to create the new ramp going down into the pool deck. So the team's really got the layout, I think, set now. So it's going to be, these slides are very difficult to see, but Maria is working on the design and moving forward. Once she gets the schematic design done, she'll move into construction documents. So some of the things that she's been working on, I'll go through this, but I'm just reading through the notes here. So the building is confirmed not to require fire sprinklers because it's going to be open the way it is. So they've moved the design to make sure it's open. No fire sprinklers are going to be required. The occupancy is going to actually change to 600. They're working on adding all the handicap access, washroom, showers, lavatories. So the women's restrooms are going to get more lockers, more benches than the original design, but a lot of this was communicated to the community when they met, and they were requesting more benches, and that's been incorporated into the design. So I think Maria's going to do a good job, which the project is complete. I don't know if anyone has, I'll pause right now, see if anybody has any questions or if there's any information that you guys would want. No questions?
We've seen these drawings a bunch of times.
Yeah, I figured as much. I started trying to read everything. I know that these have been presented to the community. That's trust. You skip trust. I don't know who's working with it.
I can address this one. So we are currently in conversation with Captain Richards is working with the Portland, or sorry, the Palm Springs Mounted Police to come up with them. I apologize, I'm from Portland. Palm Springs Mounted Police to put together a proposal for the trail maintenance, and then I will be collaborating with the Parks and Rec Department on trailheads when we get to that one. I'll go through the ones that I have information on here. Restrooms, I'm just going to speak to Victoria Park. I am collaborating with Alberto and the engineering department to do some code updates on some existing plans that were approved for other parks to build a new restroom at Victoria. Roof party, we still need to address whether or not we're going to be restoring the existing restroom or building a new restroom. The Sunrise
At
Plaza.
Victoria, it'll basically be the same as Duth Park restrooms, right?
Correct, yes, and we are looking into potentially moving it to a different location in the park. We'll bring that to you once we have a little bit more information on where.
So the goal when we set out to do this restroom, when it was an engineering project at the beginning, this we wanted to create a restroom that could be just picked up and put in any one of our parks or any future city facility, right? We wanted to make sure that we own the drawings and we can work on them. The one funny thing about architectural drawings is that the codes change every so often. So when they change, you can't just go plop that design. So you then have to work with the architect to try to make sure that we can get code updates and, is it really our design? So those are little things that we work on in the background to try to make sure that we can continue using the same design. Because I think it's a functional design, it works well. It's just little tweaks here and there and having to go back to the architect, which is unexpected. Thank you. Sure. And I don't know, these are all the projects that we're working on, and I think we're gonna really highlight the other projects, but the multiple projects, right? We're doing the parking lot, we're doing expanding the dog parks, we're just, our team with Kimberly Farm is basically zeroed in on Duth Park, and we're putting all the facilities in, and we've provided updates to you in the past, so those projects are still going on. The recreational ball field lighting project was supposed to be complete. We're 100% complete with the ball fields and the stadium lighting, but the soccer field project had a little bit of a hiccup. There's a power supply issue where we're ordering new panels, and those panels are in back order, so we had to pause and wait for the electrical supply, and we're experiencing that throughout most of our projects, where anything to do with electricity or electrical equipment, there's back orders, and there's it takes a long lead time. So what I was told, and I think I wrote it, is that it's just the panels are on back order, and we're hoping to get them in the next 3-4 weeks to finish off that project.
Is the playground open yet? It wasn't open last week. Is it open now?
I didn't see that.
The playground
It
is open.
Yeah,
I think it
okay.
came down on Friday.
It was packed on Sunday afternoon.
Cool.
Yep.
It is unofficially open, and there will be a ribbon cutting at some time in the next several weeks.
Cool, like what we did at Victoria.
Yes,
Similar.
only a little bit less over the top.
Sure.
Yes.
Understood.
So bring your own bubbles.
I got it. So as far as the netting on field 7 between the dog park and the ball field,
Mhm.
I just want to make sure we don't forget about that. We've had a couple balls go over. We played Thursday night and a couple balls went into the park.
Did the netting get removed as part of the park?
No, we need to add the net.
Okay, well,
Going from right field all the way towards center, towards the walking path, the structure. What is that? CV lane.
Yeah.
So they have a little thing, so I think if we went a little past that, cause we've had some balls hit the top of that as well, so
Okay.
that netting's gonna be, that's something we have to put up,
Alright, John, and I
Just
can take a
want
look
that
at that.
slip through the crack.
Yeah, thank you.
It was part of the large dog park plan for Duth Park,
Gotcha.
so maybe separate it out if we can to get it up sooner. I don't know.
We can certainly take a look at it.
yeah, so it's part of the dog park project. Alberta would have more information if it's going to be incorporated, when it's going to be incorporated, but if it's required sooner, then.
Well, the
new project
parks will
management
be shut down for 6 weeks, so I don't know if you can do it within that time frame, but that first mow is November 8th, I believe, so I think we're gonna be up and running.
Yeah, so I think the team's gonna look at it, and now that we do have a parks project manager, that's something that could be segregated out of the project, but right now, we don't have the information to give you whether it can be done in 6 months or not.
Thank you.
Would you like to address the pickleball courts?
I can or you can.
Either-
No, either way.
The pickleball courts, we have received from Kimberly Horn, the designers, the 90% drawings. And those are currently under review. Those are due back to Kimberly Horn. Our review comments are due back on the 27th, and I believe we'll actually have them back sooner. And more importantly, on October 2nd, we have a meeting scheduled with the ad hoc committee to go over the project, the 90% drawings, and there are a couple items in particular where we need to solicit input from them. And we will be doing so at that time, so they'll get a complete update, and we're looking for their input on things like some of the park furnishings and benches, on just a couple of some of the finishes, what's appropriate, what's not, and we want to talk kind of about how we stage the project.
I think we'll look at signage as well, shade structures, so there's things that they're gonna be talking together. And then the schedule looks like they're gonna have 100% plans done in November. They look like they're gonna be submitted to the city in November, early December, the city will turn it back. And then we'll work with our building department, and then final plans and big package looks like late January.
This is just a current plan. And Aaron, you wanna take it?
Sure. Well, the Bristol Park playground shade structure was completed by our engineering department, Duth playground shade structure and the playground equipment is also complete as of last week. It is open. I will note that we are working on some hardscape items around the playground. I think that it was mentioned earlier. We're working on some DG surrounding the playground, and we'll be moving some benches and picnic tables over the area.
There are some photographs of the finished Duth Park and Bristol Park.
It's quite the fun playground. That slide is very tall.
You can see that we're making some of the, making progress on some of the parks being completed. One of these is the Desert Highland, or one that I want to address that we won't be doing is Desert Highland fencing. And I think there's an opportunity for me to address this later in the meeting or on the agenda, but I'll do it now. We actually, at the direction of the commission, went out and had a meeting with the community members in at Desert Highland Park to discuss the concept of fencing the entire park, because we've had a tough time with people on four-wheelers and various vehicles driving over some of the new landscaping that has been put in, and the fields themselves, and damaging them. We met with the community and they spoke very strongly and almost unanimously, and I would say there were 35 people there, maybe, Aaron. Very strongly and almost unanimously and quite adamantly that they did not want to have the park fenced. And they raised some very interesting points. I've been a resident for 30 years and thought I kind of knew this part of history, and they brought, I learned a lot. They brought up some very valid observations and considerations, and they asked us to please instead redirect our energies towards getting the fitness equipment in and installed, taking a look at the baseball field, seeing what we can do there, but not fencing their park in. It would have set a precedent. We don't have other parks that are fenced in, and as I said, they brought up some very valid reasons not to do it there. So there will likely be in the future some damage will continue from vehicles, errant vehicles, but that happens at our other parks. They were pointed that out, and it's absolutely true. We do have people driving out on Duth Park, driving out in Harding Park. So we crossed that project off of our list.
I can kind of run down the rest of the list if you want.
Absolutely, thanks.
The Bristol Park playground equipment is currently in hands of our building department to approve the plans, and John is actually going to be taking this project over from me. The fencing at Bristo that the commission previously approved is on hold currently, as we did have community outreach against that project, and I think there's going to be more on that later with the Measure J proposals. Duth we've talked about, Desert Highland ball field turf. John is going to be looking into that as well. Sunrise playground resurfacing, that one's been done for a little while now. Ruth Hardy basketball court resurfacing, that's actually been done for a while now as well. The Ruth Hardy playground equipment, that's in process, and John's going to be taking over that project as well. Victoria complete. Landscape turf conversions. We did complete the turf conversions at Victoria, Bristo, and also Desert Highland. There are two remaining that John's going to be taking over. So Ruth Hardy and Francis Stevens. The Leisure Center, we resurfaced the dance studio flooring back to the original wood. It looks amazing. So we were able to keep the original flooring there. It looks incredible. The Sunrise Park reclaimed water, Lori spoke about that a little bit earlier, and this is to redo the irrigation as well as do some turf conversion and bring reclaimed water to Sunrise Park. We're actually at 60% design on that project at this point. And I'm going to be working in collaboration with John for him to kind of take that under his wing as well. And then the Sunrise Park basketball court, that's gonna be kind of a part of a greater effort to resurface all of the basketball courts, I believe. John and I are gonna be collaborating.
These are images of the next park up for playground equipment, and that is the Bristo Playground. Desert Highland fencing, here it is, I already addressed that. And after we do Bristo, we'll be moving on to Duth Park as far as the playground equipment project goes. All right, thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
got like a posse.
It takes a village.
Oh, yeah, Victoria Park is amazing. Okay, so I know we have a bunch of Measure J. Action items, did all the commissioners read everything about it, and especially Lori's memo? About how to kind of get your mind wrapped around what we should say yes to or no to or rate, whatever.
And sure, let me just kind of recap this
Yeah.
for people who are watching, participating virtually. The Measure J Commission oversees a process wherein they review applications for what we call CIP, citizen initiated projects. And these are ones where individuals in the community, or we see it sometimes from neighborhoods within the community or groups, can request funding that comes to us from our Measure J 1-cent sales tax for projects that they believe would improve the community. They have available this year up to $6 million to award in I believe it's community initiated projects, not citizen, community initiated projects. And the applications themselves are due at the end of next week, or they're due on the 30th of September. This time, for the first time, they have included a process wherein involved committees and commissions within the city or impacted commissions can weigh in on the merits of the project. So you can, I believe some committees are just kind of giving a thumbs up or a thumbs down. We thought that it would be more meaningful to pass on to Measure J actually a ranking of the priority of that we believe priority of merit for improving the community. And so you have in your packet copies of the 7 applications that we've received. You've had a chance to take a look at those. We will have each of the groups or individuals is going to make a 3 to 5 minute presentation. Then there will be an opportunity for commissioners to ask any questions that you have about it. We'll go through all 7 projects that way, and at the end of that time, we're gonna take a moment to allow you to fill out your ballot, wherein we will ask each commissioner to rank from top priority, number 1 priority, to their lowest priority, the 7 projects that are there. And at that point, we will collect the ballots, and we'll ask you to make sure to put your names on the ballots, because this is a public meeting, and we have more than a forum here, and we need people to actually have their votes counted with their name attached to them. So you'll put your name on the ballot, rank the projects, and turn those in. We will then go on to the next item of our agenda. Well, our vote counting team, who's behind me someplace, will tally the votes that we receive, and hopefully by the end of the meeting, we'll be able to come back to you with a preliminary finding of this is the ranking that the commission endorses, subject to a recount tomorrow at staff is going to double check them out, but we'd like to be able to then pass those that ranked recommendation onto the Measure J committee.
Lori,
So-
question about that. Regardless of the ranking, it doesn't mean that someone is not going to be funded based on what Measure J may do. So the ranking may be how this commission sees projects impacting facilities. But if you're ranked, doesn't mean if you're ranked second or seventh that you're getting funding or eliminated from funding or anything like that. Is that correct?
You're absolutely right, Commissioner Davis, and thank you for pointing that out because this year, the amount of funding that's available is twice what it was the last time Measure J accepted applications. I think there was $3 million available there. So this is a lot of money and we're getting fewer applications in. So if the Measure J Commission sees fit and they have enough money, they could fund all 70 of these, excuse me, not 70, all 7 of these. Or they might only fund 2.
But
That's
there
up to
are-
them and the city council makes the final decision.
Right, and as you said, I believe you said this, other commissions who may be looking at these are not ranking. And so again, all of these projects go to Measure J. They're being funneled through appropriate commissions if they apply. And some are just weighing in with commentary to some extent and some may not. Is
Yes.
that fair?
Yes, absolutely. And there may be, since the applications are not due until the 30th, we don't know for a fact that we've been able to contact everybody who might be interested in doing a project that impacts the parks. We've kept on top of the applications that come in. I'm talking to the finance team and finding out, are they getting questions from anybody else? Is there anything else that they might suspect is coming in that they don't know of? And if so, then that project would go to Measure J without a recommendation one way or another from this commission.
Thank you.
Okay, the first applicant that I would like to invite up would be for the Bristol Park Improvements Project.
I know, timer starting any second. Thank you. Hi. Thanks for having me. I've got a time or two.
Okay, will you start by introducing yourself?
I'm Ned Barker. I'm board chair for the Bristo Neighborhood Organization and I serve on the
Excuse
one.
me, Mr. Parker, could you turn on your, yeah, and we'll start your time over again. Press the button for your microphone.
There you go.
There you go.
Okay. I'm still Ned Barker. I'm board chair of the Bristo Neighborhood Organization and I serve on the 1PS board as well. Okay. Great. Bristol Park is named for Bristo Sol Santiago, an early 20th century tribal leader. It's the city's only south side downtown park. It's the only park in section 14. And it's the only green space in the city's densest neighborhood, the Bristo neighborhood. We have a problem. The Bristo Channel, or wash, is the problem. Built 3 decades before Bristo Park, its design constrains the park in ways that severely discourage park usage. The main issues inherent in the channel's design and illustrated and documented in the provided handouts. The 2-acre park's usable space is reduced by half. The channel itself, the fence is 547 feet by 51 feet. That's 2/3 of an acre. The bifurcated portion of the park consumes another 1/3 of an acre. The Parks and Recreation Master Plan refers to it as foster care. The Bristo Channel was a magnet for illicit activity long before the park was built. And when it did open on February 17th, 1981, the Desert Line headline for the story about the park said, "Former hideout becomes park." The park has fencing or a block wall on 3 of the 4 sides of the usable portion of the park. This creates what's known in crime prevention design as an entrapment area. In minimum, it causes people thusly entrapped to feel unsafe, even if they're not, even if they are safe. The Palm Springs General Plan's 2024 housing element calls for most of the new affordable housing to be developed within the Bristo neighborhood. And 10 of the city's 17 identified sites for affordable housing are located walking distance from the park. In 2017, the National Recreation Parks and Rec Parks Association's magazine ran an article entitled "The Economic Benefit of Downtown Parks." It stated that the creation of any type of park space on a vacant or underutilized parcel can lead to new residential, mixed use, or retail areas around these parks, all of which increase the quality of life for residents and visitors to that community. The solutions that will increase the benefits and usage of the park are not new. In fact, on a much larger scale, CV Link illustrates this. Remove the cyclone fencing. Place 2 bridges across the channel as called for in the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. Transform the maintenance paths into pedestrian walkways. Install decorative safety fencing directly adjacent to the channel. And add additional features that are family friendly, that improve safety, improve usage, improve beautification, and create a sense of entry. And add art and wayfinding. For Measure J, we created a 20-page RFP, and we invited 5 companies to submit proposals. In addition, we have walked the entire channel with engineers at Riverside County. 4 of these companies responded with letters of intent to do so, and 2 of them actually did submit proposals. The proposal deadline was today, so we've just had very little time. One of them came just 2 hours ago to read them. But this project is 3 phases in our vision. It's feasibility with conceptual design. Phase, so that's a consulting report. Number 2, it's construction design. And 3, it's the actual construction of it.
Mr. Booker, you've got about 30 seconds left.
Our ask is to fund phase 1, feasibility as soon as possible, the cost of which will be between $300,000 and $450,000. To fund phases 2 and 3, we intend to look at the city of Palm Springs, Measure J, and to several statewide grants which we've identified and included in our application.
Thank you. Okay, what did you, time for a minute, we'll see if the commissioners have questions for you.
Go ahead.
I just have a couple of questions. How do you envision incorporating improvements the city completed in Bristol Park already?
Well, I don't think any of our requests, which are detailed in there, call for replacing those things. I do want to say some of the landscaping. The contractors have asked us, or the companies have asked us, if that has to stay there, and we've said that we believe that you would find it acceptable to move things. Because all the companies that we talk to are landscape architects.
Okay, so in your application, you say this fulfills the intent of the 2014 Parks and Recreation Master Plan. Are you also considering the consistency with the tribe's section 14 specific plan with regard to the trail they envision?
You mean along the channel?
Yeah, so it's
The channel's larger than the park, right? Is that what you're referring to?
no,
Okay.
what I'm saying is in your application, you refer to walking path. In the
Yes.
tribe section 14 specific plan, they call out a combination pedestrian bike path. So would that be consistent with?
Well, we don't know if there's room for bikes. This is not intended to be a mini CV link in our.
No, that's not what the tribes.
So you're talking about the
Either.
specific plan for
That's
section 14.
Section 14 specific plan
Yes.
calls out that as being a combination pedestrian bike path.
Yes, it calls for a lot of pedestrian
Right.
efforts and a lot of bike paths throughout all of section 14, especially in Bristo. And so this would be a 547-foot path that would be on both sides of the channel, just as it is.
Okay.
for similar.
All right, perfect, thank you.
Sorry, I didn't. get that.
No, that's okay, that's okay, these are kind of minutia, but just wanna make sure that like.
But we have looked at this specific plan as well.
Okay, great.
And we have other, we're working, and also doing crosswalks and other related areas.
Great, thank you.
Yes, please.
Do you have a sense of the overall budget for phases 2 and 3, just what would follow
Yeah,
this?
that's a great question. I don't yet. But I'm gonna tell you, it's going to be $1 million. I mean, maybe that's low, but it's probably not.
In this follow-up question, and a sense of how long this would take to complete if things got moving on schedule?
Yes, well, I don't have a sense. We haven't asked that as part of the RFP completion time or this. But I think once we've selected someone, those are the questions that we can answer. Our whole idea was, let's figure out if it's feasible, figure out what it might look like, and then talk about if we want it, and if we still want it at that point, then we, then we start to tear away those details.
Thank you.
See, no further questions, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
The next presentation, and I'm not sure if we have somebody here representing this, Duth Park Field Energy Efficient LED light fixtures upgrade. Okay, they weren't sure if they were gonna be able to attend the meeting or not. Their application is in your package, and essentially what it is requesting is that the same change out of high mast lighting that was done in our other parks be done at Cerritos Field as well. The first question I hear is, well, why wasn't it included the first time? And I don't have an answer. I do not know why it wasn't included with the other ones that were done. The other light conversion projects at our parks were largely funded out of Measure J. And so this would be requesting that Cerritos Park be treated the same. For those of you who don't recognize the name Cerritos Park, because I get a lot of blank looks from people, including when they're standing in our offices, which are share the parking lot with Cerritos Park. Cerritos Park is the one at the intersection of Pavilion Way, where the swimming pool and the leisure center and pavilion are, and Bristo. So it's right across the street from the ball fields that are used by the high school, and right against the Palm Springs Stadium. The applicant was not able to provide a cost estimate for this. They referred us back to our own internal projects that we had done. And I have not been able to get a prorated cost even, but it would be several $100,000.
Lauren, what did you say the cost was gonna be for this?
Several $100,000s.
Okay, because I was looking at the
More specific.
application, that's what I was looking for, and this materials, and it says total cost of approximately $1,100,000. Is that really?
I believe, is that the
That was the cost of the
that they were
stadium.
referring to the previous work that was done?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it works. Okay, G-force workout. Never mind. False alarm, you're not next. False alarm, you're not next.
Okay.
That's too far.
Okay.
Sorry.
This one is titled Creating an Urban Forest at Prescott Preserve.
Yep.
And we have Katie Barrows here to explain the project.
Thank you, members of. Got it? Okay. Thank you,
you, members of the Parks and Recreation Commission. My name is Katie Barrows. I'm a board member, a relatively recent board member of the Osgood Land Trust. And I'm here to talk to you about what we think is a very exciting opportunity to partner with the city to really advance the cause of creating more shade and more beautiful places for people to enjoy nature and walk in an urban environment. You might be familiar with Prescott Preserve, which the Osgood Land Trust acquired in 2022. And over the long term, we're looking at essentially converting what has been in the past a golf course to an urban nature preserve, wildlife habitat area. For this project, we really wanted to look to Measure J funding for the opportunity to enhance this area for the community. We're seeing a lot of use of the area, a lot of walking, there's bicycle paths, there's, really one of the nice things about it is it's a place where people can walk. I'm a hiker, but sometimes I don't want to go up the Bump and Grind Trail or whatever. So this would be a place where there's, level area that people of all abilities could walk. And so our proposal, one of the things that's missing is shade. It's a obviously as a former golf course. And so our proposal actually is to focus on making this into an area with a lot of shade and urban forest, we're calling it, planting native trees that are well adapted to our climate. Laurie was talking about the challenges that trees are having. And we really feel that trees that are adapted to our local climate are going to perform better as we experience the effects of climate change. We also want to add a butterfly pollinator garden in an area along Farrell Drive. If you're familiar, the preserve is kind of bisected by Farrell Drive, and we want to add something that will beautify that scene for both the people who are using the property as well as people who are traveling on those busy streets. And we've been actually part of our proposal and our outreach has been working with the Living Desert to help us with that design. We're still actually getting some quotes and information this week, so we can put that together for our final application. But they've been working through various cities throughout the valley to put in pollinator gardens and interpretive panels. And we particularly want to focus on helping people to understand that these trees and plants could be things they could have in their own landscape. And having pollinators, which are critically important, not just for their beauty, but for our food supply, is something that we all need to work on and provide for. So part of our proposal involves interpretive panels. We really see the, I guess briefly, the essence of the project is to modify the existing system with some drip irrigation to provide at least short-term water sources for the trees. We really, in particular, Living Desert's been giving us some advice on ways in which we could capture surface water and do some sort of minor creating areas where the water could be captured to try to make it water efficient. We want to also emphasize that folks can use these desert plants as a water efficient landscape. And we see this as a great benefit to the community. As I mentioned, it's already getting a lot of use for people who are walking, enjoying nature, getting a place to escape from heat, health and wellness benefits. I think we've all learned, especially coming out of the pandemic, that the importance of having these areas. This is consistent. We have met with the Sustainability Commission. It fits in closely with a lot of the sustainability plans in terms of the concept of an urban forest and climate change. And trees, of course, would absorb carbon as well as creating shade. It's a way to combat the heat island effect, which is the radiation. Study from UC Riverside indicates that a vegetated surface or a treed surface could change the temperature as much as 50 degrees from a either paved or other surface. And again, we want to use it as a way to demonstrate to the community that these landscaping concepts of water efficiency and using native species that will fare well in our climate.
You've got about 30 seconds.
Okay. Well, maybe with that, I guess with regard to implementation, I did want to mention this project as one that would be implemented by Osgood Land Trust, by our staff and volunteers, with consultation and cooperation with some contractors. We have been reaching out to local nurseries to find both the pricing and as well as the availability of trees. And if it turns out that we think we can probably have to go to a lot of different places to do that, and we're talking about hopefully hundreds of trees. But it would be a project that would not put a strain specifically on city resources, because it would be implemented by nonprofit and take a property that we have been unfortunately received as a donation from Mr. Prescott, and make it more of a community resource. So with that, I appreciate the opportunity. Be happy to answer any questions you might have. Yes.
One quick question on the information you indicated, sort of demographics or children and students. Just curious if there's a high level or top line sense of what that might be with how the grant would impact that
In terms of the
students and children that
Yeah.
are being served by this.
Well, we are expanding programs to try to involve the community and get kids out to the preserve. And that's a pretty new part of the program because it's recently been on for a couple of
Sure.
years. But that's definitely a target for us, is to expand to, nearby groups and having programs for kids. We currently do have bi-weekly bird walks that are led by volunteers. Those are very popular. But one of our staff is developing some programs to try to offer places where you could have guided walks for kids and members of the community. So
Thank you.
Definitely.
I just have one question. The list of trees that you have here, do these include the box trees that were donated to the preserve, or is this an addition?
Some of the trees that were donated are some of the native species. There was a kind of a mixture of trees. We went through a process. I was actually volunteering to help at that point. We went through a process of trying to identify those that, could do well in the desert. But I will say that some of those trees are pretty high water users. And so we really are targeting those that are more efficient and can manage with a more limited amount of water.
You did a great job of outlining all the specific projected costs that you have. Can you give us a total cost of all of your expenses that you expect this project to
Right,
cost?
well, the budget right now is showing just under 500,000, which is actually the maximum amount for this particular. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but in any case, I will say we're still tinkering with the budget and we're getting a few more quotes in this week. But it's probably going to be in that range, and yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And I will clarify that according to the finance department who handles and manages the Measure J project, $500,000 is the limit. But for an exceptional project, they can go above that.
Thank you.
All right.
Hello again.
I apologize for the false start.
It's okay.
This is for G-Force Workout Health and Wellness Permanent Space Project, which is at Duth Park.
Thank you. Good evening, commissioners. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. I'm Michael Coates. I'm speaking in representation of the crew at G-Force Workout. I know you have the application, or our application. I wanted to share a story of how we got here. Ted Geis, who's the originator and sitting right behind me, started a fitness class 14 years ago at World Gym. And when COVID hit, 4+ years ago, moved it to Duth Park. Well, it was just a handful of people and nowhere to go basically at that time. And what has happened with the class is we started a Facebook page that now has 1,500 members that are actual participants. Most recently, we started live streaming from the park, our class, and we averaged between 1,000 and 2,000 people a day that participate with our class here at Palm Springs and in all over the country and other countries, predominantly Canada, as we know the snowbirds come back and forth. So that is the flourishing of the project. I'd like to include that since Palm Springs has come out in a commitment to blue zoning, that what we are actually is the representation of what blue zoning can do. Our youngest member is age 4, our oldest member is age 89. I can think of 6 people, including myself off the top of my head, that are cancer survivors and other ailments and illnesses, which have really, it is extending people's lives, and the community participation has been really miraculous in those ways. We have, with regards to our footwork, approached the Miracle Playground, which you're already using for some of the other parks. For this particular project, they assured us that they would meet all the insurance requirements and that the duration of the project would be 16 to 20 weeks. It takes approximately 10 to 12 weeks, and engineering takes about 6 to 8 weeks. So that would be the specifics. It was recommended to us through CIP project manager from the city when we were picking his brain about this, that we supply options. And so in our binder, which is more extensive than this application, we have included the possibility of workout equipment and an added space. We gave the specifics for what we are requesting, but we wanted to also add options for the city or for whoever's making the final decisions to at least look at and review. So those are in there as well. For tonight, I included two things. We started with a petition because we were having challenges finding a location in Ruth Hardy Park that we could stay consistently. We were moved to the basketball court, then we were in the parking lot, which created some issues, then we were back on there, and the seating part of it created some of this. And so this was the impetus for us to pose. We created a petition, which you have in your packet tonight, and I got a call from Rhonda Hart, who felt that once we talked, he felt that this project had merit, and we went ahead and moved forward with it. The photograph that you have in your packet is from an event that we have called Tutu Tuesday. So on the 22nd of a month, when it's on a Tuesday, we have what's called Tutu Tuesday. And it's an example I wanted to show you, first off, some of the crew, but also show you the community camaraderie and what comes from a project like this. We're a very strong force. We had a profound, we attended all of the envisioning meetings that have been provided so far by Lori and the staff for Parks and Rec. To put our 2 cents in and share. A lot of us are long-term Palm Springs community members and really are passionate about health and wellness in this project, and are excited that the city has taken on the blue zoning. I know Ted Geis and myself. 30 seconds. Okay, I know Ted Geis and myself have spent our lifelong fitness guys, and to see community and a city take on some of the responsibility of that is remarkable. I understand that Kaiser and IEHP are funding some of the blue zoning, which is even better. We have actually reached out and talked to both of them more just in personal with what we do. And so, you know, the benefits of what this project could do are it's open-ended. You know, we could really become, I know the city of Palm Springs could become.
I want you.
Okay.
You get the hook.
Okay. That's all right. Thank you.
Please stay, and if the commissioners have questions, now is their time for that.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
So I know the area of Ruth Hardy where you're talking about.
Yeah.
Are you saying that area will then not be available other than for G-Force workout, or only when you guys are using it and then it becomes part of the park again for the rest of everybody else?
You mean for the project, what we're doing?
That specific area, when you're using it obviously for the classes, clearly that's what it's being used for. When it's not being used for that, does it just become part of the park again? So in other words, the maintenance and everything for the space still is the responsibility of the city of Palm Springs as far as park maintenance, right?
Yeah. We're just on the grass there right now. Yeah, right next to the horseshoe parking lot. Yeah.
Different question.
Okay.
So the area is a dedicated space. It's got its own surface.
Yes.
Shade over it.
Yes.
So what I thought you were gonna ask is, when you're not using it, how would that space be utilized?
It's open. I know there are other groups that are current, I mean, just from G-Force, there's two other groups in two other parks. One of the commission members is one of the people that came from G-Force, so, you know, he's at the Duth Park in the rec center, so, also, at Francis Stevens, there was a park, and the teacher from there came from G-Force as well, so, excuse me, yeah, but yeah, the dedicated space for any number of things. I mean, if I were to speak to the envisioning of it, I'd like to see the city use more, like create more of this would be fantastic.
And what's the, I guess, the space, I see is it?
This one we put 80 by 120.
80 by 120, okay.
Yeah. And we met with with one of the project managers of the city, and he gave us some suggestions, and so we measured it out, and we had one of the companies come out. We also have other options in the binder per the city's choice.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
I have a couple of questions.
Yeah.
80 by 120, if you have 1,500 people participating, how many people are actually there on the ground as opposed to
In season,
internet?
between 50 and 100 daily.
And so 100 people would fit within the 80 by 100? I'm trying
Yeah. Yes, yeah, that's why we've also got one that proposal for 60 by 100. It's a little bit smaller. Maybe not as many people would fit. We would probably have some people on the grass. But when we're in the middle of season coming up, we get a consistent 50 to 100 people every day.
So, since this is a public park, this may be a question for somebody at the city, but how do we what's that?
Designate.
So in other words, if this becomes something that's really popular and people want to use this space,
Mm-hmm.
so that, would it become something that the Park and Recreation Department takes care of, and that you as G-Force would sign up for that time period?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
then the rest of the time, other people would sign up for different time periods, but it would all be coordinated.
Yes,
There
yeah,
wouldn't be any fistfights or
yeah, ultimately that would be great.
pickleball versus tennis.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're you know, we're not really an organization, we're just a group of people that have evolved over time organically, you know, and with a vision, right? And so the vision would be that more people would do the same, others would participate, that this would become even more of a flourishing thing than it already is, and that the city of Palm Springs can take all the credit. That's fine with us.
So then, in terms of the construction of this, the design and construction would come out of this Measure J fund.
Yes,
But moving forward, the maintenance of this part of the park would become the city's responsibility.
yes, ultimately, yes. We fit the design within what I saw with regards to, we used Victoria Park as an example with the solar panels and the flooring. I understand also that they're redoing the playground at Ruth Hardy. So where we positioned it, it would visually look, we had somebody come in who is an architecture in those ways, who placed it so that it would look like it was cohesively a part of the playground. So it wouldn't take up too much screen space.
Sounds great, thank you.
Thank you.
So one more
Yeah.
question. There's equipment or there's not equipment? It looks like there's options for either.
Yes, options for either. That's not actually a part that was suggested that we include that, so we did.
So that's
Right.
not part of the initial.
No, that's part of, if that were something that was wanted, we just did some legwork around that for them.
Thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you very much, everybody.
The next item. The next application for review is the Palm Springs Stadium Deferred Maintenance Project.
Good evening.
My name's Andrew Starkey, and I've been operating over at Palm Springs Stadium for almost 22 years. However, I'm not here for myself. I'm not here for my business, Palm Springs Power. I'm here for Palm Springs Stadium, the city's own facility. I've discussed this project with the city manager. I've discussed this project with other people who utilize Palm Springs Stadium, like Desert Chapel, and their athletic director, Palm Springs Youth Football League, and their league president. And this is about the stadium's deferred maintenance, not just for the last 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50, 60, going back to 1960. Some things have not been done since 1960 at this facility. So before the city starts to build new projects, I truly believe that they need to take care of existing assets that they have. Their key infrastructure, their safety, their cosmetic, and they're to maintain the integrity of the city's facilities. Obviously, the city and the Parks Department have project managers with John coming on, but I have gone and spoken to Martin Strube of DW Johnston Construction. They are a business that's worked here for 30 years. They're more than willing to want to get involved in this if that is the direction that the city wants, only because there are so many projects and one person can only have so many hours in the day that they can work. That is an option. It starts with the very first, most important item that you even saw on one of your slides, flooding. Palm Springs Stadium does not have drains. The grandstands are a huge catcher's mitt. So if, let's say, we get 2/10 of an inch of rain in 1 hour, you don't have just rain landing in one area, you've got rain landing everywhere, comes all the way down the grandstands, it goes into essentially a little trough. Troughs run to both edges of both first and third base dugouts. They go into a little tube. Water goes down the tube. So much water comes in, it overflows. It goes into the dugout. Second problem, Palm Springs Stadium is not, the field is not flat. It is tilted. Not good that it's tilted, but it's tilted. It's tilted towards the third base dugout. So when it rains, it's a very small amount of rain over a long period of time, it'll dissipate. If you get a little bit harder rain, floods up, runs right into the dugouts. The only solution, because there are no drains, there are 4 5-gallon buckets underground. When you fill those 20 gallons with water, it floods up. I've had water to my waist on February the 14th, 2018. Now, granted, that is a huge flood, and we don't anticipate getting 3 whole inches of rain in one day anymore. But when you get 2/10 of an inch of rain, I have it halfway up to my knees. Only way to figure out how to get water out of there is with a pump. 4 pumps, actually, all the time. This is not an inexpensive project. If I was to be able to just do it myself, it could cost about $75,000 per dugout. However, it has to be prevailing wage, so you're looking closer to $125,000. And look at the budget that I put in, it's gonna be roughly $300,000 project for that. You gotta get the water out. That's ultimately what needs to happen. The infield. Currently, baseball lines between first and third and home are supposed to be 3 feet wide by current standards. These are closer to 5 to 6 feet wide because every time it gets edged by the city or the maintenance company, it keeps getting wider and wider. So sprinkler heads are in the dirt. You can't grow grass over clay. It needs to come up. The sprinklers need to be adjusted. It's the same sprinkler system that was put in before me, 70s, 80s, 60s, somewhere in there. It was installed. When the wind blows, it goes far and it doesn't actually water the grass so that the grass can grow. Sound system.
You have about 30 seconds.
I'll go fast. Sound system owned by the city, and it's basically shorts in the wiring and speakers that have been blown. The speakers are 20 years old. The wiring is probably closer to 30 years old. Outfield wall, the pictures speak 1,000 words. That wall needs to be replaced. Batting cages, trying to protect baseballs from going into the outfield or into the parking lots. just chain link fencing over the top, and the air conditioning units is a special request from the facilities department here at Palm Springs. All the baling wire and chewing gum they can wrangle up in the city has been put on those after 30 years that do not really work anymore. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have in regards to any of these projects.
I don't know. So what kind of not cost, but how much money does Palm Springs Power bring in? Does it, I know it does a lot for the players, but how does it affect the city?
Well, it depends ultimately on what you quantify each tourist that comes in. Palm Springs Power, the team that you go and watch on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday night at Palm Springs Stadium is the tip of the iceberg. Where we generate more money for the city of Palm Springs is when we bring in 250 players to play in our morning collegiate league, and then their parents that come to town. They're in town for 30 days. Or we bring in 200 people to stay for 30 days in the wintertime. So you're putting 6,000 head nights in beds just from our players. And then you take their 400, 500, 600 players that have family members that come all over the globe. Last winter, I had 48 players from China, Japan, South Korea, and Australia come here. What is the value monetized for advertising that we're doing? I can't give you what those numbers are, but it is millions and millions of dollars in value to the city of Palm Springs, which is a multi-billion-dollar brand. Anything else?
No, I've played on that field. I love that field. It needs a lot of work, man. It's in bad shape.
This is not a wish list. These are essential items that the
Right.
city needs to maintain their facility. It's not for me. It's not for Palm Springs High School or Desert Chapel. It's not for Palm Springs Youth Football. It's for our facility. Stuff has to be taken care of.
Could you elaborate just a little more on who actually uses the facility?
Sure.
In addition to the
So Palm Springs Power, my organization, we
Yep.
run our winter league, we run our summer league and our summer teams. In addition to that, in the spring, it is utilized as the primary facility for Desert Chapel's varsity baseball team. So they play all their games there. Palm Springs High School will play games there. Between Palm Springs and Rancho Mirage High School, they'll host a local tournament in the beginning of the spring that plays there. There is a MLK weekend tournament for youth. There is also, it's not Labor Day. There's another term. What's the other?
I was gonna say 4th of July, and the city, it's not an exclusive lease that we have with Palm Springs Power.
Right.
The city retains the right to use it for community events, and it does accommodate everything from RV shows to, there have been different times when, for instance, Black History Month is set up there, or different organizations that come into town. Or
Food and wine
local
festival.
community events.
This Sunday, there is a kick out bullying celebrity kickball game going on at the stadium. So there's all kinds of stuff. The best people that know the additional calendar offhand would be people like Janice, who does the coordinating. I hit her up with an email today and said, hey, October the 6th, I want to do a player identifier to help find some additional players. She goes, no problem. That's a week before we close down for the reseeding that you spoke about that Duth's going through right now. So there's lots of different things that go on there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Good to see you, Andrew.
Good to see you.
All right, the next item we have is the Victoria Park Mid-Century Modern Small Pavilion Project.
I'm Gerald Adams, President of Rocket Club and States Neighborhood Organization, 1GS representative and former Palm Springs Airport Commissioner. As we all know about the downtown park, we have a pavilion there, and I don't know if that's something that could be easily duplicated or maybe a different design. I put forth several examples. For a gathering space, I'm focusing on Victoria Park as that is in our neighborhood. It's great for social gatherings, artistic performances. It's also great as an emergency meeting place in event of any citywide emergencies, whether it's wildfires, earthquakes, things like that. So I don't know if it's best to approach it as a new design or use an existing design that we already have in the downtown Palm Springs. That's something that could be discussed as the Parks and Recreation Commission as the final design. But we estimate, we were told by the city in 2021, the cost would be about $350,000 to $600,000, depending on the final design and requirements for it. That's it. I'm working fast. Any questions?
Any idea where you want to put it in Victoria Park?
In our 2021 submission, we focused not terribly far where the restrooms are in Victoria Park, but further up alongside is it being there less? No, it's not.
So near where the totem pole is?
No, further in toward the elementary school.
Gotcha, okay.
Yeah. So, but sort of parallel from alongside the street from where the two current restrooms are, but further up. That way, it still get space for the people that have soccer games in the back section. So that was in our previous submission. Any other questions?
I have one. So, in your previous submission, you have a cost estimate. Did you update your cost estimate numbers, or are these the same?
No, these are the same from the city when we discussed it with the city. I forget who we had spoken to at the time.
So these are 2021 numbers.
These are 2021 numbers.
Okay.
Yeah, we given it's a wide range between 350 to 600,000. I'm sure it would be closer to the 600,000 at this point. Anyone else?
Thank you.
Great, thank you so much.
Our final applicant is going to be participating virtually. Over Zoom. And this is for a Duth Park mural. And you may remember that the gentleman who spoke under public comments at the beginning of the meeting was discussing this project.
Christine, can you hear us?
There's a marker on the top that says turn up volume has been up. During the meeting, people are having a hard time.
That just means we don't hear them.
Christina, can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay. All right, you have the floor. Your 5 minutes begins.
Okay. Do I get any video or just audio?
Just audio.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Very glad to be here. I'm here as a representative of Bayanihan Desert, which is a multi-generational Filipino community action network made up of a diverse group of Filipino identifying folks that both live in the Palm Springs area and have some connection there. Just a little bit of information about me. I was born and raised in Palm Springs. I'm a 4th generation Palm Springs person, and by way of my great-grandfather, who's a Filipino immigrant. He had a catering business and owned restaurants, so was part of the mid-century hospitality culture in Palm Springs. And we are proposing a tile mural at the Demuth, or excuse me, yes, at the Demuth Community Center wall, envisioned by a local Filipino artist. We have been working on this project for nearly 4 years now. We're made up entirely of volunteers, and we've been slowly plodding away, getting community support and input, getting support from different commissions. Back in April 23, we got support from this very same commission. And the Arts Commission, we have support from the city, maybe not formal support, but they did make October let me make sure the wording is right, Filipino American Heritage Month. So there's some acknowledgement from the city of the contribution of Filipino people to the Coachella Valley and Palm Springs in particular. The mural will reflect the diverse history and contribution of Filipino folks to Palm Springs. And let's see. We are asking for $109,000 to complete this project. We had originally pitched the project as a painted mural for a fraction of that, but given the increase in Measure J funds, we believe strongly that this is the right time and the right moment to bring this to life. I probably don't need to tell anyone in this room, but we just want to emphasize the importance of highlighting and elevating our cultural, social, and ethnic diversity of Palm Springs. There's a lot of emphasis on Palm Springs as a resort destination and its beauty and its history. And just to give one little example, using myself to illustrate what I'm talking about, I think everyone associates Bob Hope with Palm Springs. They're synonymous. Well, great grandpa DeJesus used to bartend and serve Bob Hope. And that's the kind of thing that we want represented in Palm Springs, those stories and those histories and the current day reality that a lot of Filipino people still work and live and contribute mightily to Palm Springs. I look forward to your questions. Thank you.
So I remember this project from 4 years ago.
Yeah. Hi. Nice to hear your voice again.
Where are you thinking of putting it now? It was originally going to be kind of 4 panels, like right under the roof line at the community center. Is that still the plan or not the plan?
It is, let me get my directions right, but it would be 3 panels along the, which direction? Which facing wall?
Like facing the parking lot, right?
Facing the parking lot, yes. There's sort of like a natural, or there's a built-in architectural feature where it's sort of panelized, and
Right.
it would be on those.
So not on plywood on those, on the actual building,
Tiled onto the building, yes.
tiled onto the building. Okay.
Yes, that's the difference between, I'm sorry if I didn't bring enough attention to that. The project will now be printed onto tile that can last for decades. It's UV, graffiti, water resistant. Because there was an issue about maintenance when we were initially proposing the project.
Yep.
So we had to reconvene, and this was the best solution.
I assume that building or whoever has said it's okay to put tile on the side of the building, or?
Yes, they had.
It's not my expertise, I'm just asking.
Yeah, no, understood. Please ask away.
Who's the artist that you have?
James Adam LeBuen, he's another person born and raised in Palm Springs.
I taught some of the points.
Okay.
Any remaining questions? All right, thank you, Ms. Soto.
Sure, my pleasure. Thank you.
That is the end of the presentations that we have lined up, the 7 applicants. You have a ballot in front of you. If you don't, please speak up and we will get one to you. And we'll take a couple minutes and allow people to rank the projects in order of their preference. My goodness, some things have been busy.
Riley.
And please make sure that your name is on the ballot. The votes will be part of the public record.
Who's getting this, Riley?
I mean, I think. Yeah.
Oh, really? Who's gonna study about it? I don't think mine. Hey, guys, the master plan update's about 15 minutes. Do you want a quick bathroom break or is everybody cool? We're all good? Keep it going. Did everybody put your votes in?
It's the
Yes.
last one.
You guys all did? Okay, while they're doing that, we can move to the master plan update.
At this time, I'd like to bring you an update on what's been going on in the master plan project. And as a hint, it's a lot. You had presented in your agenda packet 2 reports that were prepared. Or excuse me, you had all 4 reports that were prepared as a part of the background work that our consultants KDI have prepared, working with staff and working with the community. This is all data that's been fed into the master plan project itself. And we have Shalina Opper here to fresh off the plane to make a presentation to you on the updated status.
Thank you. Well, good evening, commissioners and parks teams. Always great to see you and even better to see you in person. I want to I know you have a lot on the agenda tonight, so I want to get through the update quickly so that I can answer questions, because hopefully you'll have lots of them. I have a presentation. Could we switch to the slides? There you go.
Yes, we could.
That'd be great. Thanks so much. Okay, so some of this may be, the first few slides might be a refresher for some of you, but I just want to make sure we're all on the same page before we get to the new bit. So let's see.
It wasn't working for me either.
It went.
I gotta get the batteries set up here.
Okay, great. We got there and just. Okay, here we go. So just to remind us what the master plan process is all about and who is behind it. There's KDI, and you've probably seen lots of our team around the city over the last several months now. We've been joined by Agency Landscape and Planning. They've been hosting the working group, if any of you have participated in that. Pros Consulting has been analyzing the behind the scenes, and ETC conducted the statistically valid survey that hopefully many of you in this room also participated in. The goals for the master plan were pretty straightforward. We wanted to get you those goals, policies, and priorities that can guide the system for the next 10 years. Very importantly, we wanted to make sure those goals were implementable. And we wanted to leave you with a whole new set of rich data about your system so that you can help people understand how it works, what's driving it, and where there's room for improvement. And then we wanted to make sure that all of that was done not by a group of consultants in far off or even nearby places, but really by all of you, by the staff, by the commissioners, by the council, and most importantly, by the people that use the park system every day, the residents. So that's what we've been up to for the past 8 months or so. And all of those were done with these kind of foundational priorities at the heart of it. So the equity and engagement was at the core, but of course, understanding where Palm Springs is in the world, climate resilience was also incredibly important. We have always seen Palm Springs as a place that has such a rich set of histories and so many surprising things about it. So we really saw that as an opportunity to build from as we think about the next 10 years of the park and beyond. And then of course, we don't like to write plans that sit on shelves. So we wanted to do everything with an eye toward implementation. Okay, so just to give you a quick snapshot of what we've done. We've been out and about and in your offices and studying documents in lots of different ways. And I recognize many of you from some of those events. This was the overall project timeline. Again, if you've been at an event, you've seen us steadily moving through this, and we're now at the end. We are in the planning document phase. If you were in any of our offices in the last month or so, you would see all of the great photos and images and diagrams of the community and what we've learned pinned up all over our office as we begin to make sense of it and put it together in a plan that's useful to all of you. Okay, so you have also, let's see, I think it's on this slide. You have also received these documents. These are kind of the outputs that we've created so far. We did an existing conditions analysis, which you've received. We did all of the engagement work, but then we created a set of findings from that. We have these 2 assessments, the program and services assessments, along with the funding assessment. And then we had the statistically valid survey that was done via mail and online. So all of those, as I understand it, you've seen, you've read, and some of you have even had a chance to meet with staff and get into the details of that. So rather than present that to you again here, I'm happy to take questions about it if you have them, but wanted to use the limited time we have today to show you what that's all adding up to. And just to be clear on that, we don't have the final draft done yet, and that's intentional because the draft in every step of the way needs to be kind of validated, and the same people that have given us input to this point, we want to continue to receive that input as we build the plan. So what I'm going to share with you today are the guiding themes under which all of the goals and actions will nest. So let me kind of show you how that all comes together. The reports that or the chapters, reports, studies that you've seen so far are these on the left. So the parks and facilities have been covered through the existing conditions report. We've really learned about community needs and priorities through the statistically valid survey and our community engagement process. And then we've come to understand the finance and operations that underpins the system through those 2 assessments that I mentioned. And those are the things that are now coming together to create these draft themes, goals, and recommendations. And this is more or less how it's structured. There are a set of themes, there's 6 of them at the moment. these are the big ideas. These are the places that everything that we've heard kind of come together into buckets, if you will. Within each of those big ideas, there's a set of goals. This is where things get measurable and you can start to say, did we do them? Did we not? And then under each goal, this gets back to that foundational principle for us of really helping you implement. We've set a set of actions. So if you want to reach that goal by 2026, here are the actions to take. If you want to reach this goal over the next 10 years, here are the actions to take. So that's the basic structure, pretty straightforward. Today, I just want to share the themes with you because we sort of have a draft of all of these as they come together, but the most important first step is to really finalize these themes. All right, so before I go into each one in depth for 60 seconds or less, I want to just give you how they all come together. You can think of them as 6 verbs. The verbs are narrating, connecting, pooling, renewing, expanding, and stewarding. And I'll go through those. So the first one is narrating the experience. And this one is really about building off that rich history, much of which we've heard about tonight in some of the proposals. And it's about sharing the deep art and cultural histories of Palm Springs through the park system in a way that maybe hasn't been done to the fullest extent in the current system. It also is about narrating and navigating. So just simple things like wayfinding has come up a lot from users, from staff, just knowing that the parks exist, knowing how they connect, and knowing how to move through them through a cohesive set of wayfinding things like signage is something that's come up a lot. So we think of this theme as where all of the things about visibility, accessibility through wayfinding, and then art and commemoration come together. So just an example of a goal for that, you can see one here is a multilingual wayfinding system to make navigating the park system more accessible for both community members and visitors. Some of the other things, the goals that we are likely to see under this theme are about uplifting the diverse cultures and histories of Palm Springs through the parks. Also, just about creating awareness of the park and recreation system. We found through many different layers of our work, there are some parks that people don't even know exist or don't even know are parks within the system. So there'll be things in this category around how the Parks Department better connects and speaks to its public. Okay, the next one, connecting people in place. So this one is about connecting people physically between the parks, through the trails, and between neighborhoods. So this again includes things like mobility and access, but it also thinks about what happens at those connection points. So we heard so much about the trails, and if you read the documents that we gave to you, you saw that trails really rank at the top of so many of the different forms of engagement. But the consistent theme around those trails is that they could be better connected, but they could also be better serviced at each trailhead. So a lot of what you'll see in this is not just about creating the interstitial links, but also making sure that at each of those hubs, there are the basic things that people need: shade, water, etc. So some of the other goals in this category beyond the trails are about improving access within and between parks. So this might be things sometimes that are not within just the jurisdiction of the Parks Department, but nonetheless are things that we think are important to put into the plan, and then acknowledge that there needs to be collaboration with other departments. This is things like bike lanes and ways that getting between the parks really is what drives the ultimate impact of the parks. All right, next, Keeping it cool. Okay, so this one again is probably no surprise to anyone, but this is about adapting to climate change while at the same time meeting the needs of a community that really wants to take advantage of water recreation. We heard early in the meeting today about expanding the aquatics facilities. Water has come up in so many ways, whether it's splash pads, more pools, different ways to swim, different ways to exercise in water. So that's a big layer of this goal, but it's also about shade and thinking about not just how we shade our playgrounds, but how we shade the spaces in between our parks. Where is man-made shade more appropriate than natural shade? And what would it look like to think about shade across an entire system as opposed to thinking about shade just at the level of each site. So some of the goals in this category will be around thinking about climate change forecasting and how that might, doing some of these longer term analysis of climate and using that information to guide your priorities for the park system. It's also about things that are on the other side of the spectrum, very practical, like adjusting opening hours of facilities so that it can better respond to the climate at the climatological cycles of Palm Springs. All right, the next one is renewing the system. This one is really about something that came up a lot. People love the park system. People see a lot of value in it, just as it is right now. But at the same time, they see where it needs some new investment or it needs some reinvigoration. We've heard that again tonight. Things that need upgrading, things that need maintenance in new ways. So this theme of renewing the system is really about things like that. So the example goal that you see here, improving physical and perceived safety within each park by extending lighting hours or implementing inspection schedules, things like that. But it also talks about things on the more on the operational side. So how we might invest in staff trainings and others to bring other programs to the system that would also help kind of give it a refresh in certain ways. The next one is expanding the impact. This is really about equitable access and diverse programming to meet the needs of all residents. And if you read some of the assessments here, led by pros and supported by the rest of us, I think there's some really interesting findings around life cycles of programming. And when our programs kind of headed for decline, and how does a park system kind of analyze that over time, and what do they do about it? So some of the goals in this theme will be about assessing things like programming cycles, taking the pulse from users of the park on a more frequent basis to really understand the needs and desires of park goers on a more regular basis, and then developing systems that takes that feedback to make sure that the impact is always at its highest. This one also has really physical things like expanding equitable access to parks. As part of our existing conditions work, we mapped where the parks are and who's within a 10-minute walk of parks. And we found some really interesting and important things, I think, to address over the next 10 years. There are some parts of the city that have real park gaps, park deserts, if you will. And we think that there's great opportunity to fill in those gaps. And we've heard some of those things mentioned in some of the projects presented tonight. So there are goals around ensuring that equitable access to parks across the entire city. I talked a little bit about diversifying existing parks and programming. There's some other goals in this category that are around equitable distribution of programming. So ensuring that people who are looking for opportunities for exercise, can do that close to where they live instead of having to perhaps crisscross the city. And then, of course, we've heard lots of great feedback about diversifying fitness opportunities through the survey, through the community engagement, through the program analysis. So it's in this category that those goals and actions will really come to life. And then the last one is stewarding the future. This one is maybe the most wonky of them all, but actually I really love it because of what's been uncovered through some of the analysis. In this category, you'll see things about improved evaluation, new funding strategies, and some ways to create more sustainable park management. But these are things that come from really evaluating peer cities and other park systems that really are doing a great job and really have great ways of showing their impact to their city and to their constituents. So in this case, by looking at how other cities do it and seeing and looking deeply with your teams of how you do it, there's a lot of really exciting, I think, if not a little bit technical things that we see could be great assets to the future of the park system here. And so things like establishing new performance metrics, increasing cost recovery percentages, establishing supportive services within facilities, those all kind of come up in this category. So those are the 6 themes. I'm happy to take questions on those in just a second, but before I do, I just want to give you a quick look at where we go from here. Sorry, this seems to be a little fuzzy, but we are here, I'm presenting to you tonight. And as I said, we're drafting and redrafting and getting feedback and input. We just had a working group meeting I think last week, where we also went through the themes and collected input. And so about a month from now is when you'll get to see a fuller draft of how these themes, goals, and actions come together. We'll ask for your input and feedback and notes and markups. And the goal is, I believe we are on the agenda, or hoping to be on the agenda, for City Council approval in December. And then with that, of course, our most important concluding activity is celebrating all of this, and that also still needs to be established. And with that, questions? Or comments?
Will the draft basically give us an idea of what your recommendations are for both the current facilities and then what needs to be like addressed as far as what people are asking for? Because I know everybody wants another pool. Another pool's not realistic, right? So will it address those things? Like, will it say things like the Palm Springs community really could use another pool?
Yeah, it will.
It will be that specific.
Yes and no. Okay, and I want to set expectations right here. In some cases, it's going to be very specific. And with the pool example, it will probably say, spoiler alert, that there should be more access to a pool. But we are intending to give you, we've heard we think there are a couple different ways to do that. And so we aren't going to tell you, on this site, build this size pool with these dimensions and this. It'll be more about suggesting studying where a pool can be, studying some pathways to do it, and giving you some resources for that. But not everything that we've heard is going to rise to the level of a super specific action. And that's for different reasons. Some because it's not really at the scale of a master plan. So if there's let's say a broken drinking fountain at a particular park, that's not really something appropriate for the master plan level, but it might get wrapped up into something like address deferred maintenance in basic amenities like water fountains and trash cans. And so it might get picked up in something like that. And then there are other places where something is so, it's been heard so much and it's been seen across so many of the different levels of analysis that it may be something that's kind of medium scale, but because it's so prevalent throughout all of the work that we've done, it will get called out in a really specific way. So, and you will see that in the next round. And that's actually, I think, going to be the place where your feedback is going to be really important, because you might see things like that feel really specific, and there may be something that from a commissioner's standpoint you feel is equally important to be specific about, but instead it's getting wrapped up into a bigger goal and you feel like it's important to call out on its own. So that kind of feedback is what we're going to want to hear from you, and then we're going to be hearing it from a lot of people. So our job will be to kind of figure out how to get to the best possible middle ground that make sure nothing is left out, but that it's not such a laundry list that you don't know how to begin and how to move through it.
Any big surprises you've uncovered through this process?
The pool's a big one, isn't it?
Well,
I think the park acreage, it's been super interesting. If you read the existing conditions report, that is where we look at each park specifically. So that is where we say, fix the light bulbs at Duth, or you need better trash cans, or your trash cans are fantastic. But it also compares you against peer cities. So it says, you know what, in a small city that's like Palm Springs, they have 20 diamond fields per 1,000 residents, and you only have 1 diamond field per 1,000 residents, or the opposite. You've got 40 and everybody else only has 20. So I think through that existing conditions analysis, some interesting things came up, because it wasn't all one way or the other. In some places you were really doing well compared to your peer cities, and in other places, maybe in surprising ways, you know, you weren't. And in that's where I think the park gap is one, I think, surprising thing to me, to see where those park deserts are, and the additional acreage that Palm Springs residents could really use.
Thank you.
Sure.
so considering that we are a park desert in certain areas, we have the city owns a large plot of land at the end of North Sunrise Way. You cross Sunrise, you keep going all the way up Sunrise, and there's San Rafael is the last light. Stoplight, you keep going straight. If you drove through the barricade at the end of the road, you'd be in a huge, vast amount of acreage of land that the city owns. That particular area and neighborhood has access to little to nothing in terms of parks and recreation. And so I don't know how, I beg and plead you to put that into this fantastic plan, but we need a park there. Like 10 years ago, we've been trying. So if that could be something that's, I don't know how all this works, but if that's something you could do.
That's a great.
You're very sweet and nice. Maybe you could just nicely slide that in there.
It's a great opportunity to clarify something. I think you will almost certainly see a recommendation that addresses what you've just raised. And I want to be clear about the expectation. What we won't be able to do, just because that isn't typically how parks plans do, is identify a particular lot. And there's lots of reasons for that. It leads to land speculation. You don't know who the owner, what the ownership situation is of particular lots, but you can imagine a map that might have a dot that happens to cover that lot and some other lots that's kind of broadly drawn that says could go somewhere around here. So I just want to set that expectation. You won't see purchase this parcel on this corner and put a 5-acre park there. because nobody would let us do that.
So it's safe to say that this is looking at it more of a 20,000 foot level. And our next meeting will be more or maybe at 5,000 feet, or you see where we're going? Because
Yeah.
I've been on this commission a long time.
Yep.
And I just want to see some good progress, and we've done some wonderful things, so. I think we're in a good direction. I'm kind of looking forward to seeing that 5,000 foot level, or even.
Yeah, no, you'll see it all. That's the thing about a master plan, is it's like one of those, I don't know aviation well enough, but it's like those planes that like can get really low to the ground and also fly really high. The master plan is gonna do that. It's some of the things it's gonna talk about are gonna be way up here and 10 years into, maybe even 20 years into the future, but there's gonna be plenty of things that are really at the ground level. And it's going to kind of connect all of those things in a way that should, if we've done our job well, go back to those 6 key verbs and give you a park system that's connected and invested in and easy to narrate and navigate and really represents the city and its richness. So, and you will see it all next time I'm here. You'll see all the gory details.
My God, how long is that report gonna be? I'm like, this one was 100 and something pages.
You know what, our goal is to make it
Digestible?
it'll definitely be digestible, that I can guarantee you. It's really like the layout is going to be lovely and accessible, and it's gonna have words and a lot of them, but it's also gonna have a lot of tools that help you navigate and just say, like, if you're not gonna read the many pages of text, you'll be able to go to one very useful sheet that says, in years 1 through 3, focus on this. In years 4 through 7, focus on this, and 7 to 10, focus on this. So our goal is, we want you all to be able to access it very well and easily, but what's most or equally important to us is that any resident who's been through this process with us can pick this thing up and not feel like, I spent 8 months talking to these people and I'm supposed to sort through this. So our goal is to really make it something that you want to pick up.
Thank you, Shona.
Sure, thank you.
This item is the ad hoc reports, but before we have that, Chair, if you will allow me, I have the votes tallied for the prioritization. Sure. Projects, and I see people in the room that are probably waiting for that before they sprint off for dinner. The tally shows that in order of precedence, the project given strongest recommendation is number 1 is the Palm Springs Stadium deferred maintenance projects. And number 2, there was a tie between the Bristol Park project, which was actually a feasibility study, and the G-Force workout space at Ruth Hardy Park. The in, I guess, 4th place, if there were 2 at number 2, would be the Prescott Preserve project. And the next one, number 5, would be the Duth Park mural. Number 6 is the Cerritos Park field lights being changed to LED. And the final one was the mid-century modern pavilion at Victoria Park. So we will double check all the scoring and the points tomorrow, but this should be the recommendation that you see that goes forward to the Measure J Commission.
And then what do you want from us, Lori? Are you gonna put together like a letter for all of us to sign, or how are we gonna present
I
that?
will put together a letter to go to the commission that I would ask the commissioners, excuse me, the chair sign
Okay,
on behalf of the commission.
so that means I have to do something. Okay, just clarify.
Make it real easy for you.
Are we up to ad hoc reports?
No.
Yes, we are.
I can tell you the ad hoc that I am the lead on, which is the dog park. We have no updates at this time. Master plan?
I think we just heard that report.
I was gonna say Shalene did all my work for me, so.
Yes, right, totally.
Great work.
Park enhancement is Jace, right?
And
And you?
I mean, just that Victoria's open.
I know, and it looks awesome.
It's beautiful. We did a school community barbecue over there on Friday
yeah.
afternoon.
Oh, cool.
It was fantastic, yeah.
Cool. Now we just need good restrooms and then you're,
The restrooms are nasty.
I know, they're
But
terrible.
again, we've been on this so
Yeah.
long. It's cycled through that so many times, yeah.
Pickleball.
Okay, pickleball. July was a watershed month for pickleball. We had two presentations that we had to prepare, one for the Measure J committee, and the other for the city council. And for both of those presentations, we had to request additional funding to see this project through to its fruition. And we got approval from both entities for the additional funding. So just after a brief break on city government during the month of August, the group has gotten together again. When I say group, I'm talking about Kimberly Corn and city officials. And they've been having meetings, discussions. They covered a lot of ground with those meetings. And the next thing that's on schedule is for October 2nd, with the Pickleball Ad Hoc Committee. We'll be meeting with our interim director, so with Kimberly Corn representatives. And people from engineering division of city government, and just more or less coalescing as far as timeline and other particulars. And the revised projected completion date for the project, we're looking at this is tentative, but the latter part of 2025 going into the early part of 2026 for completion on the pickleball courts. And I just want to give a special thank you to the assistant city manager and for Kimberly Bourne. They did a fantastic job for both of the presentations. We were asked a lot of questions, a lot of queries about the project, and we were able to collectively satisfactorily answer those questions. Hence we got our funding. And I also want to thank our interim director for her insights, her input, and enthusiasm about the project. And I'm very psyched as we go forward with this.
Cool, thanks. I don't remember who's on the swim center.
Good stuff.
Oh.
Anyway, I went by the swim center this morning, and folks are in the process of transitioning from the hardcore summer swim to the seasonal folks. And that's all in the process. We're changing over. Other than that, we've talked about most of the other items that is going on with the swim center, so everything's going smooth.
Okay. Just so you know, I had a couple of commissioners ask for, can you send the list that tells us which ad hocs we're on?
Yes, absolutely. I will definitely check.
Thank you, Riley.
Yes.
Kind of pointed in my direction.
No problem.
Okay, that's it for ad hoc updates. Any commissioner comments? Like at 7:50.
I just wanted to say thank you for everybody explaining all these things. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
I don't know if it's exciting yet or not, because stuff, you know, I am a take action person, so to sit and wait, and like we've mentioned, some of this stuff we've been cycling for years and years, and it's super frustrating. But I do appreciate the concise explanations of these things, even though it was a long meeting. Being able to explain, and I'm looking forward to that little one sheeter that you said. Kind of hone in.
Anybody else?
Yeah, just real quick. I do apologize for missing the last couple meetings. Little turmoil was going on in my life, but everything is great now. It's good to see everybody's faces and some new commissioners. And the ball field lights are amazing. So that project is very cool. I think that's about it. So it's really good to see everybody.
Yep, thanks.
Welcome, Lauren.
I just have one thing, I volunteered to give out backpacks at the Duth Center a couple months ago, and I didn't actually give out any backpacks, but I did check in everybody that was coming, and the number of kids that showed up was just really great. And everybody's had a good time about games, what's going on, and they didn't meet anybody at James O. Jeffsey, but they let me hang out with them. I appreciated that. I'm sure they didn't need my help, but they let me stick around.
Anybody else? Thanks, everyone. Any motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. The next meeting will be on October 28th at 5:30, right here. See you then.
Square. Interesting costumes.
Meeting adjourned.
Meeting adjourned.
Meeting adjourned at 7:52.
Interesting.
Appropriate controversy.
Right? Well, wait, that means like.